Hello everyone. Why I like the Eco Brush is because they think about the big picture, ensuring you keep your pearly whites nice and squeaky clean while still looking after the environment. That's why this season we're proud to have them as a sponsor of our podcast and Eco Me and Eco You. Welcome to Eco Me and Eco You.
Proudly brought to you by the Eco Brush. So Nick, as today's podcast is about weddings,
Yeah.
how is married life going?
Good. I think we're exactly a month in.
Is it a month already?
Yeah, 15th.
Oh wow.
I know. Yeah, it's been going good. It hasn't really in terms of relationship, it's just been the same. Nothing. It doesn't feel like, oh, I got married and everything's changed. No, it's about the same, which it's to be expected, I think. Oh, though funny story, Matt lost his wedding ring earlier this week.
Oh my god, are you kidding me?
No. He was washing the dishes and he took his ring off, and then he could not find his ring after washing the dishes. So he went through the rubbish.
Oh shit.
Went through the recycling because he tried to figure out where he'd been, and then could not find it for the life of him. But he checked the rubbish and recycling, I think, twice. He's like, okay, so I think it's in the house somewhere. So he lost it for a week, and then he found it today. So he was quite happy. He was really upset about it, actually. Yeah.
I think when it comes to wedding rings, there's so much more sentimental value to it. Yeah, you're going to be way more upset about losing it, but I'm so glad that he found it.
Yeah, me too.
So I have multiple wedding ring losing stories for you.
Yeah.
My brother lost his wedding ring the day after they got married.
Day after?
Yeah, he was absolutely mortified. As you can imagine, I was so upset for him. It came off. It's a long story. But anyway, he lost his ring. He was very upset about it. It's because it was too big, so it came off.
Oh, right.
When he was out and about. Then Simon lost his wedding ring once too. And it had ended up in something that was going to go in the trash. Oh,
I remember you telling me about this,
actually. It was
actually.
Simon's, not mine, eh?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Simon's, yeah.
I care less about Simon's.
Yeah.
It's no diamonds. Yeah, and then I almost lost my wedding ring down the drain in the floor, the floor drain.
Oh, no.
I had to, I literally, dropped to my knees afterwards and had a cry. So I was cleaning it.
Oh.
And then I dropped it and it bounced and I was like, shit, it's gonna go down the drain in the floor. So I quickly shoved my foot over top of the drain because they're big slots, it would have definitely gone in there, and it stopped, it hit my foot and then stopped. And I was just so lucky that it didn't go down the drain. I would have just
So
and I have another one. Another story, actually. This is someone told me this story. A woman washed her hands in a public toilet, took her engagement ring off. When she did it, left, forgot about it, and then she came back and it had gone.
Yeah. Shit. That's
I would literally die if I lost my engagement ring.
I would too. I wouldn't know. Well, oh no, it was lucky that my engagement ring is a stone, it's a morganite, so it's not super expensive. So it's if I was to lose it, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
But still, yeah, Matt wasn't happy. I tried to make jokes and he wasn't having a bar. What? We've been married less than a month. Do you want to have a conversation?
Oh no.
He wasn't that into it.
No.
Yeah, so that happened. But no, it's been going good so far. It's been nice to not because we did so much planning, and even a couple of months up until I was still doing stuff every day or every weekend. There was something wedding to do, so it's kind of nice to not have to worry about doing that.
Yeah. That's good. And like everyone says that, oh, it's the same, it doesn't feel any different. Do you feel like it feels different or not?
Not really, no. It's kind of, I guess, it doesn't feel really more permanent. I think I'm looking forward to like long-term plans, like getting a house and like doing stuff. But I think it's just because we've been so like focused in on like we've been engaged for 2 years, so that's been really like a long-term plan. So yeah, I don't really feel much different. It's nice to call him my husband.
Yeah, it's cute.
Yeah, except he calls me like wife has like better nicknames, like it's like, oh, wifey, or like waifu, and it's like
waifu.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one before.
Have you not?
That's hilarious.
But husband, you can't just like round
hubby.
Your hubby, but what else is there?
Hubbo.
I
don't know. Husband. I call Simon husband.
Husband. Oh yeah, I might have to use that one
because it's kind of funny.
Yeah, but it's good. Like, I really enjoyed the day because I realized we haven't actually done a podcast since I've been married because we had a little unforeseen break and
life.
Yeah, life happens. So yeah, like the day was awesome. Like a lot, like even the week before we had like little, it wasn't too stressful because we'd done mostly everything, but there were like little jobs that needed to be done. So Matt and I kind of divided and conquered in Tairua, and we just like got things done. And then on the day it was like just nice just to like enjoy the day and not have to worry about things not running on time because I'd done that organizing. I think I'd done that organizing on purpose, so then I wouldn't, like, my anxiety wouldn't kick up.
And I think that's real key and important to making sure that you guys have a really good day.
Yeah, I think so. So hello guys, by the way.
Hello, welcome back. Sorry, we've been talking for so long that we forgot to do a hello.
So what we're kind of talking about today, if you haven't already got the clue, is we're going to talk about kind of weddings.
Yeah, and how you can have them more sustainably.
Yeah. So we can, since I've just freshly come off a wedding, I can kind of give you the stuff like I did to be more sustainable, and then we can also talk about like other things and Yeah.
So I am also married. But not quite as fresh as Nick. It's carrying out 4 years now.
Wow.
So crazy. So I think weddings can be a very stressful time in a couple's life. And then you obviously have all your family involved, and a lot of your like kind of values can kind of go out the window, or people don't really know how.
How?
I was waiting for the car to go past in case it was going to be loud on the phone.
Sorry.
Or people don't really know how to kind of incorporate sustainability into organising a wedding. Yes. Yeah, because I think like especially it depends what kind of budget you have as well. But I think people, it's not very, sometimes like you look in wedding magazines, it's definitely becoming more popular to be more sustainable in your wedding. Like it's very much like a trend that's not going away. But I think people can get pressured to go like all out and get all these things and get maybe things that they don't necessarily want but feel like they need to have for their big day. It's I don't know what I was going to say. My brain is like, that coffee wasn't enough for me. Another one. It's like, I really don't know what I'm saying. Let me try articulate what you're trying to think. Because I know also like everyone is different about what they want, right? Like my wedding ended up being, some would call a bit untraditional, and you know, that's fine, that's kind of what I wanted. But then sometimes you get into planning your wedding, and then like I've talked to
my friend at work who got married maybe 6 months or almost a year before me. She's like, I didn't realize I'd want all of these traditional things until I started planning. Like I thought it'd be a very untraditional bride, but then sometimes you get into it, you're like, oh, actually I do want this thing, or I do want this other thing. So with me being very untraditional, like I didn't have like a veil, and I didn't have like confetti to throw out to the new, so it's like, but also one of my goals was to be like try to be as sustainable as I could for my wedding. Like some things kind of like slipped by, but other things like it was one of my key values that I tried to have through it, so it was very important to me. But other people don't necessarily understand that either, so it's like having a lot of conversations with people about what you want.
Do you think that potentially the hardest thing, and because also for me, because I did helped out with some of the food and I saw things back in the kitchen, that maybe one of the hardest things about being sustainable is when it comes to like catering?
Yes, that was like, if you're not doing it yourself and you're getting like a caterer in, which I mean, unless you've done catering, like I'd like go for gold. But I think to do it yourself on your day, like, and getting your family to do it, like I was kind of like, well, I want my guests to have an awesome time too. I don't want to have them worrying about like getting all this food done. Like Crystal made lovely platters for me, which was awesome. But I didn't want like mum and dad having to worry about hams and all that stuff. Like it would just be a lot of work for them on the day. So I decided to go with a caterer. But it was kind of just something like, I can't, unless you, because we were also on a budget as well. I'm going to let them do their thing and try not to push like, oh, can you do less plastic, less that.
It's definitely, it was a hard thing to control, and sometimes you kind of just have to like let things go. So because I was out the back a lot, and like I mean we went and brought stuff for the platters, and there was definitely things in packaging. Like I made the hummus, and I decided not to make crackers because I thought that was going to be too hard and actually kind of expensive for you guys. So I bought crackers. So all these things came in plastic packaging and cardboard boxes, and it's kind of hard to make sure that everything gets recycled correctly. Like I took loads of stuff home with me to make sure that I could recycle it, but I could see like the other caterers, like what they were doing, and like stuff that would just go in the trash, and it was like, it wasn't a recycling in a trash bin, it was just a trash bin. And the other thing is food waste, because there will definitely be food waste.
So what like we ended up doing, there was definitely a little bit of food waste. Like say your platters, for example, we couldn't like save everything from that just because it had been sitting out all day. But like all of the food and stuff we saved, and then we just had like sandwiches the next day, and then stuff. That was good. Like we just like spread out the food, so then it ended all up being used, which is definitely, I'd recommend kind of doing the day after. Like what we did is we just had like a little picnic, and we brought like the stuff down and like any of the leftover alcohol or drinks, and then just kind of had like a chillaxed lunch on the beach, which definitely helped getting rid of some of that food. I
wonder if when you are looking at catering, if you could talk to your caterers about having a compost or any of the food waste going into a compost bin, because they were putting all the food waste in a tray, and I think they did compost it.
That's good.
I can't remember, but I thought I had that conversation with them. I just feel like that's something I would do.
That doesn't sound like you. I think it's definitely, when you're looking at caterers, you can definitely ask them about what they do with their food waste, and like even like asking the question about like how much plastic they use, or like that kind of stuff. I
think also it depends on your venue. So if your venue is set up to do like, because I think a lot of people have to take all the waste with them, so like for that it becomes easier just to put it all into one bin, unless you provide the bins for them so that you can recycle what you can and
Yeah.
can do compost. I'm sure We Compost or the compost, We Compost would do like a one-off composting bin thing for an event if you really wanted to look into that. That's quite cool. And you can do that. So that would also work with like, I guess we'll go into the next topic of like plates and cutlery and glassware and stuff. So if you ideally you would use reusables, but if you had to use disposables, or like the catering company that you went with use that style of food, like because we did street food at our wedding, so it just all came out and plate like on a big tray and people just grabbed them and you ate them in your hand. So we had all bamboo compostable cutlery and servingware, so that if you are going down the sort of disposable route, to have home
compostable stuff,
and make sure that it gets composted.
Because what we ended up doing for cutlery is, so the theme of my wedding was like a Mad Hatter tea party, so it's kind of like a vintage rustic woodlands vibe.
It was so cool. I loved it.
That what I wanted was kind of like mismatched like cutlery and stuff. So what we ended up doing is basically op shopping all of that. So we'd just buy the plates and stuff. And I'm lucky that like my mum lives outside of Auckland, because she was able to go to a bunch of op shops that like when you go to buy the plates, they're not super expensive. Because I found when I did it in Auckland also, I think because people had the same idea as me, you'd be hard, it was kind of hard to find stuff cheap. And mum and I did is my mum actually, she just found like a bunch of plates and just made sure we had enough. Same with glasses as well, we had mismatched
like crystal,
kind of like that crystal cut look, so some of them were glass and some of them were crystal.
That's
and
so
just
cool.
A bunch of them, so it means that I have a lot of glasses left over, but it means that I op shop them, so I'll probably either sell them on to someone else, or like I don't think I'd donate them back. I think because you've done all this work to collect it, like someone else is definitely going to appreciate and like pay for that kind of thing.
Definitely.
So I would recommend doing that, but definitely be aware of how much time you have, because I think we spent a better part of a year slowly collecting stuff. If you have less time than that, I think it would be kind of pushing it, unless you're going like real hard. And I guess it also depends how many people you're catering for. So you had like 50 people at the wedding, right? So that's an easier number. Like if you're catering for like 150 people, that's like that's a lot more. You might have to travel quite far around to get 150 glasses. So I think we had about 57, but then 50 only ended up coming in the end. So for us, because we had a smaller wedding, it was easier to go around and trying to find that stuff. But I mean, I also looked at hiring as well. Like there's definitely a few companies, even if you do like a search, like I ended up hiring all like our knives and forks, just because I like looked at op shopping them and it was just going to be like it's going to end up being too expensive, and then I didn't really want to buy new, because then I'm like, well, no one's going to want these knives and forks that I've brought. So I'm like, let's hire them, and usually you can find a good like reasonable price deals as well. Well, like reasonable priced hireage. So I don't think we really had any cutlery at ours. But so I think for weddings, like if you are like definitely hiring or op shopping whatever you can with everything and the whole spectrum, right from like your cutlery and glassware through to like your props and decorations. Like I also hired, like we had vintage lights hanging up, like the festoon lighting. I hired those and they were really good. Like you can basically hire anything, and I definitely recommend it, because you'd probably it'd end up costing cheaper than buying it yourself. And also you don't, after you've hired it, you just give it back to the person and you don't have to have
responsibility. Yeah. So when we did our wedding with all the decorations and stuff, I pretty much brought everything. So we had like a picnic styled wedding.
Yeah.
And I wanted like loads of blankets and cushions and stuff. So luckily at the time Nick and I used to both work, I was able to buy loads of samples. So I had, you should have seen, there's a photo of me like in this bed of pillows or cushions, because I had so many cushions. Still have so many cushions. So yeah, I brought all the cushions. I think I brought some secondhand, some samples. I don't think I brought any new, because cushions are quite expensive. But throws and blankets that I used on the ground, I thrifted samples, and I brought a couple new, like when they were on sale. Like I probably wouldn't do that now, but 4 years ago when I got married, I wasn't kind of that into sustainability at that point in my life. Yeah, a little bit, but not a lot. And I'm trying to think what else we had. So we had a beer bar that my dad made out of pellets.
That's cool.
That was really cool. I think I'm still at my brother's house. So the only thing that we brought for that was the taps. And then we had all these pellets as we use as picnic tables. Yeah. So my dad cut them down so they're a little bit smaller. And as a tablecloth, I think I brought a whole lot of tablecloths from Kmart or the warehouse or something and cut them down into smaller sizes. Yeah. Again, now if I look back at if I was doing that now, I would go to an op shop and buy some old fabric or like a sheet and something and cut them up. Yeah. So it's just like rethinking before you're going out and buying all these really cheap new items. If you can thrift any of it. And it is quite cool that style is quite on trend right now as well.
Yes, definitely. No, and like even there's a couple of like Facebook groups I'm still a part of. I should probably leave them now that I'm married. That people you could also find a lot of things on there that people are selling. So it's like, I'd definitely recommend, if you're thinking about something, going on and seeing what you can find on there first. And just like doing your research and figuring out if there's like a more sustainable way you can do something.
Yeah. And there are loads of like boutique sort of hire places that have like quite cool items, because I also hired some stuff from them. Like I hired like a Persian like carpet runner for down the aisle. Oh yeah. And like glass drink dispensers and stuff. Oh yeah. So there's things like that you can find like quite cool things. It's a bit harder. I think you got to do a little bit more research, like dig real deep into searching on the internet to find those places. Yeah,
you definitely can though.
Yeah. And maybe something that we're looking at doing with our wedding stuff, since we have so much of it, we might set up a little business and rent out our old wedding decorations. So I had heaps of games too. So we had lawn games. Yeah. My brother and I made giant Jenga out of 2x4s.
That's cool.
Because I didn't want to pay. You know how much it was to like buy them? I think actually even hiring it was really expensive, and I decided I could make it cheaper. And it has been used so many times. Like my mum takes it to like parties and stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then like again, you can like out of an old pallet, you can do like noughts and crosses.
Yeah, there's lots of different things. Like I definitely recommend Pinterest as well.
Pinterest is so good.
Yeah, Pinterest was really good for me, just to figure out kind of what I started pinning stuff that I liked, and then kind of figured out like the theme of style I quite liked. And then like there's lots of like DIY and like a bunch of stuff on there that you can use for weddings. Yeah. So I definitely recommend, if you don't already have Pinterest and are thinking about getting married, definitely make an account and start pinning some stuff to a board, because
definitely.
Yeah, it's definitely worthwhile. Even with like wedding dresses, like I think I was kind of looking, and then I was pinning a bunch of stuff, and then realized that I quite liked T-length dresses. So I ended up ordering that from like a Chinese website, and then the base came over. So that was probably something that wasn't as sustainable,
Yeah.
but it ended up costing me like $155.
That's so good.
And I then brought it, and then my mother-in-law and I ended up sewing, like painting lace flowers and then sewing them to the waistband, and like very much like customizing it.
Yeah.
Because I tried to go to a bunch of wedding shops to try on dresses, and I was just, it was just not great
as well.
Yeah. And
so
then
expensive.
Also I'm such like an odd size. It was either too small or too big, so that I'd end up
totally fix that though.
Pardon?
You could totally fix that if
Oh,
you got
yeah.
something too big, but yeah.
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 And then I was like, they didn't really have the styles I
Yeah.
would like to try on. Like I tried on everything to make sure that I knew what I'd want. I definitely recommend that. Like if you think that you like this style of dress, like definitely try on a bunch of dresses or outfits that you think or even not sure about. Like give them a go, because you might find something that you actually quite like and maybe not necessarily thought was you. But yeah, I quite liked
definitely
T-length.
So it's a good place to start.
And
Definitely. Then when it comes to buying wedding dresses, you can totally thrift them.
There's like totally different, like lots of options now. Like you can also hire wedding dresses as well.
Oh, that's cool. Didn't know that.
You can like get I know a lot of brides now are selling their dresses after they've gotten married.
Yeah, there's there's like sites specifically for buying secondhand wedding dresses.
Yeah.
And they're normally in pretty good condition, right? Because they've only worn them once.
Yeah, exactly. So there's lots of different options. You don't need to buy new. You can buy secondhand or thrift it. There's a lot of options.
Yeah, and then you can, if you thrift it, you can totally customize it like Nick did with hers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so don't look at it as that's all it can be. There's lots of stuff that you can do.
Yeah.
With that. Yeah. And then also, I guess if you're buying new, just just do your research around designers that have a slightly more ethical and sustainable like values. I know most wedding dresses are probably there's probably quite a lot of New Zealand designers that you can shop from.
Yeah.
And maybe just ask them questions about where the fabric comes from.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah, just like with anyone you're working with at your wedding, like they're more than happy to answer questions, and like I'm sure it's not something they've ever heard before. So it's like just ask the question, and if they don't know, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've asked the question.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's the hardest thing, is actually just asking the question, right? Okay. What's next on the list? So you've sorted out your catering, we've sorted out your dinnerware. Yeah. Decorations.
Oh yeah, so
wedding dresses. Yeah,
and for my decorations as well, I ended up making a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah.
It's partly because like I'm a designer, so I'm that way inclined, and I just kind of, it's not that I did anything like too intense. Like I made these big paper flowers that my auntie ended up taking for her Christmas float that she's going to use.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
They were beautiful, by the way. I'm so blown away that you made those.
Yeah. And then I made some bunting as well.
Yeah.
So there's definitely like things that you can make yourself and or / hire. Like what I did is I made stuff like the flowers. I just made them in front of the TV.
Yeah.
Like
out of tissue paper, right?
Yeah, out of tissue paper and twine. There wasn't any like glue or anything. It was just paper and twine. Yeah. Which was cool. And then I guess next is flowers. Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk flowers, because this was something that I've kind of like, I've got like a guest blog post on my website from a florist. She's a friend of mine who uses as little plastic as possible when it comes to flower arranging, and I think that's something that people don't actually think about. But also flower mileage and like imported flowers and stuff. So has her own field of flowers, and she buys like local flowers, and also she did do some foraging. I don't know if she still does that. So that's something that's really important to think about, is if you are having flowers at your wedding, is that using a local florist that buys local flowers and also uses her own. So that's where Rosemary grows. And there's another florist that Bloomsday. She's quite new. She gifted me a beautiful bunch of flowers a few months ago, and she is completely plastic free.
Yeah.
So these people don't use the floral foam, which is tiny little bits of plastic, and that shit goes in your waterways.
Yeah.
So avoid that.
Yeah.
And she again does local flowers and forage flowers and completely plastic free, and she uses quite a lot of recycled materials as well.
Cool.
So it's just rethinking like little things like that.
Yeah, and also when you're thinking about flowers, think about seasonally more than because if you're wanting a specific flower that isn't flowering at the moment, then that's going to be coming from somewhere and traveling a long way. So it's like, if you're just thinking about, like, if you're thinking about a date for your wedding, just kind of Google what flowers are going to be flowering in that time in wherever you're kind of based. Because that's definitely something I looked at as what I did for flowers is that the place where we got married, at our family friend's garden, she has a huge garden. She ended up like doing our flowers for us, just because we didn't end up having a lot of flowers. Like our bouquets were like small, and on the tables they were like all in these vintage glass bottles, so you could only fit maybe a couple in each thing.
They're beautiful though.
So you can also, if you have family friend that has a garden,
nice,
just maybe ask them, or just look seasonally, much like when you're grocery shopping, like and being more sustainable, you're looking for those seasonal flowers. So
definitely
for like me, like we got married in November, which in terms of flowers is quite easy because a lot of flowers are blooming that time.
Peony season, isn't it? No,
I'm not sure. I
remembered I really wanted peonies at my wedding, but it was not the right season, so I didn't have peonies.
So if you do want a specific flower for your wedding,
and it's a deal breaker if you don't have it.
Yes. Figure out what time that flower is going to be flowering, because it's also going to end up being cheaper for you if you are getting that flower in the actual season it's flowering. Yeah. And then also you might end up having might be like a nice little layer to your wedding. You're like, oh, well, this is like a flower that means a lot to me, so we decided because it's flowering in the season, like this is when we got married kind of thing. Yeah,
that's nice. And another thing you can do after you're married is dry out your bouquet. So that's what I've done with mine. So you just hang it upside down and let it dry out, and then you can keep them, and it's like a nice little memory of your wedding, and you haven't thrown them away. Yeah, they're too beautiful to throw away anyway.
Yeah.
But it's a nice little.
I don't know where my flowers went.
Oh.
That's all right.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, that's sad.
That's all right. Yeah. So you can like dry it out and keep it as a little keepsake.
Yeah.
And also I've seen with people donating their flowers to like retirement homes and stuff like that. So like the next day, like just taking like your flowers round to like a retirement home. Because imagine like receiving that as a gift, like that's really nice.
That is quite nice.
Yeah,
it brings joy to other people as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Aww.
Yeah.
Another thing that I was thinking about is my brain today is so non-functional. I thought if I start talking about it, it will come back to me.
But did it?
No. Nick and I were actually talking about this earlier today. Is when you're finding people like celebrants and photographers and stuff, finding people like this isn't necessarily sustainability based, but something that I think we both thought was quite key and important when organising a wedding is pick people that suit your style, and that way, like, you're going to be happy with the outcome. So like with photos, if you pick a photographer that actually takes photos that you like and you feel is your style, then you're going to get what you want. rather than picking a photographer that's good and then not being your style and you making them like do what you want for them.
Yeah.
For you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very true. It's that there was, because for our wedding, photos were kind of something that I kind of put up there quite highly. Like, what I suggest is when you start planning your wedding is kind of making a list of what's going to be important for you on that day, whether that is like a photographer or food, and then you know how to prioritize your budget around those things. Like, say if like we didn't end up hiring cars because that wasn't super important to us, so we didn't even bother with that. So it's like trying, especially if you're on a budget, like making sure you and your soon to be married person spouse, making sure that you're putting like the top 3 things that you want, that you definitely want. So like photography was one of those things for me. You could say the same for music for us, but what we ended up doing is I curated a lovely Spotify playlist, but then we made sure that like the sound was super high quality, because for me and Matt doing music, that was something that was quite important to us. Like, we didn't want something that had like a real muddy sound. And then to other people, like, it's food, so they would spend more money on food rather than I spent more money on my photographer and stuff like that. Like, it's definitely something you need to think about, like, before you start figuring everything out. Like, figure out a budget of what you realistically want to spend, and also a guest list, like how big your wedding's going to be, because then that's going to kind of give you an idea of how much your budget needs to be, or like how much more space you have for other things. So say if you have a bigger wedding, you are going to spend more of that on catering, and that means that you're not necessarily going to be spending it on other things. So it's just, you just have to think about your priorities. Like, if you want, if you have a huge family friend group and you want like 200 people, like, that's perfectly fine, but just trying to figure out, because that's how your budget and planning gets away from you, is that
should we talk about men and like attire, or is that just a given as well? You can hire, it's actually really easy for men to hire suits.
Yes, so what Matt ended up doing for him is that he ended up purchasing his suit, and then the groom's people hired his best man and his brother hired a suit, and then they hired their suits. So
they look really good. They fitted quite nicely.
Because we went to Rembrandt.
Ooh, nice.
Yes, they're very nice. I would recommend them. They have really good customer service. So Matt purchased his suit, and then the other 2 groom's people hired it, so from the same place. So it meant that they kind of worked with us in trying to find a color that would actually match throughout and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's quite good. And I think it's really easy for to hire suits for men. My brother hired his wedding suit as well, which I think was quite good. Yeah,
I think so too, especially if like you're not going to be using it a lot. It's like maybe it's like, well, actually purchasing a suit for you doesn't make much sense, so just hire it. Like, there's lots of places that you can hire suits from.
Definitely. And I guess you could totally do the same with bridesmaid dresses.
You can.
I was actually going to hire a dress for your wedding rather than buying new. I ended up buying a secondhand skirt, and then just wearing the rest of the outfit was just what I owned, because it was like $12 for the skirt, and it's something that I really like and I'm going to wear again. I think I wore it 3 times that week.
Nice.
But you could totally do that. There's loads of like really like beautiful dress hire places in New Zealand that you can hire, and you can hire because they have multiples of the same outfit, right? So you can hire dresses for your bridesmaids. That's quite cool.
And it's also something that it's easy to do, and then bridesmaids don't necessarily want their dress afterwards, so like hiring it is sometimes a more
suitable option. Yeah, because it's normally something that you wouldn't wear again, right? Unless you did, I guess your alternative to hiring a dress is letting them pick a dress in a certain colour shade, and then they can all be of different styles, but something that they're going to wear again.
Yeah, that's like, that was my original plan, was to get people to, I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of want like this colour. Like, you can just find a dress as long as it's kind of vintagey, but they're like, it's too hard. So I ended up finding a dress that suited
all three of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be a bit tricky, eh?
Yeah, it can be. Also, it's like, it depends on your bridesmaids as well. Like, it can just add like another level of stress and complication. Yeah. Rather than it's like saying, if the hiring dress is going, oh, okay, this is the dress you're going to be hiring. Yeah, I'm pretty sure people will be fine with that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure there are loads of other things. Oh, actually, I just wanted to mention there's a celebrant in New Zealand called Kerry who does keep NZ Green Instagram account, Facebook account, and she's a celebrant, but she is really like into sustainable and ethical and green living and stuff. So even though it might be really hard to find, say, a celebrant that is aligning with your values, Kerry, if you're in Auckland, is definitely one of those people.
Yeah, like, it's, once again, it's like, you want to find people that are in the same style of what you want, or the same vibe. Like, you want someone you get along, especially the celebrant or the photographer, because you're going to be spending a lot of time with them. Yeah. Especially if you're a photographer, you're going to be spending most of the day with them, because they're always going to be there. So yeah, it's just making sure you're doing your research, and also like meeting different celebrants. But then if you meet, like what we did, we met our celebrant, like, oh, we really like her. Yeah. Like, let's just get her.
That's nice.
Yeah.
It's going to make your day more special if it's somebody that you like as well.
It's true.
Cool. And then I think for the last topic, we should talk about a gift registry.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So as we started this conversation, like, most people actually kind of have untraditional style weddings these days, because you already live with your partner, you have been for years, you have everything that you need. So the whole tradition of a gift registry where you buy them toasters and kettles and stuff like that is kind of irrelevant now. So a couple of options that you could do instead is set up like a honey fund, is what Simon and I did, and what you guys did. Yeah. Is where you get people to gift you money that can go towards a honeymoon. Yeah. Another thing you could do is that if you didn't need anything at all and you didn't want people's money, is that you could set up, I'll link it below, a gift registry for charities. So there's a company in New Zealand where you can set up a registry and people will donate money, and you can then gift that to a charity of your choice. Yeah, that's which cool. is quite a cool alternative. And that can include planting trees, because, you know, I'm all for planting trees.
Yeah, you love planting trees. Yeah, there's like, what we did is that, we did the same thing. It's like, if you, like, you don't have to give us a gift, but if you want, you can like contribute to a honeymoon trip that we'll take next year. But yeah, the charity thing is a good idea too. Yeah. Like,
most people have what they need these days.
Yeah, it's very true.
But a honeymoon is always fun. Maybe you could set up both.
That's true.
People can choose whether they give you money or donate to a charity.
Yeah. Is there anything else?
I don't know. I didn't really plan this properly.
What I would suggest is that what really helped me when I was planning was I listened to this podcast. I'm going to plug another podcast, partly because it was
so rude. No, it's fine.
It was very good though. Yeah. Oh, hold on. Let me just find it.
We'll link it for you below anyway.
Yeah. So I think it's called Hitched. It's called, I have to find it later. But it's I think it's called Hitched. But anyway, it's like this. It's like 9 episodes, and it's this by this Australian lady, and she basically tells you helps you think about planning to be as stressful as possible, and trying to make you realize that putting your what you want first kind of thing. Like if you don't want this thing, like she says to like put it in the fuck it bucket.
Amazing.
But that definitely helped me. And just if people are offering to help, accept the offer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually really true.
Yeah, because though it ended up being all right, like I think people definitely helping me, like you and like my mum and stuff, like definitely helped me to be less stressed and like accepting help when needed, because it can get rather stressful and you can get a bit in kind of your own little world of planning and figuring out what you need to get done. So just take a step back and give your soon-to-be spouse jobs to do.
Yes, absolutely.
Because it's both of your days at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think that's a really key thing to remember, that it's your guys' day.
Yeah.
And make decisions together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
and one thing that someone told me is, because often what happens, and you probably know this, is that actually on your wedding day, you end up not really being together.
Yeah.
And you are talking to everybody and socializing, and it's not, it like later on becomes about everybody else and not necessarily you guys. So make sure that you take time to spend together on your wedding day, and even if it's like, you know, everyone's up and dancing, just like maybe take your partner out and go for like a walk, or just remove yourself from everybody just to have like a nice little moment together and kind of take in everything that's happening on the day.
Yeah, because I think the moment we had was I saw you go outside, and then me and Matt like followed you guys out and just like had a chat with just like you guys and us, and it was like a nice moment where we could just like chill and simmer down. But it's important to have that moment. Like Matt and I, when we were having our photos after, like once everyone had their photos and we'd had our photos done, we took a moment just to kind of hang out with just us two and kind of talk about the day. So it's definitely important to plan that time for you guys to have that time together, because it does become, you like love socializing stuff, but it does end up being that you guys are kind of apart for quite a bit of it. And
don't be afraid to do what you want to do.
Yes,
because I think you can have a lot of outside influence on what's happening, or if your whānau is contributing to the funds, can kind of dictate a couple of things that they want to happen. But at the end of the day, it's your guys' wedding, so just make sure that don't be afraid to put your foot down if you need to and make it for you.
It's very true, because something you don't realize when you start getting married is that everyone has ideas about what a wedding should be, and you just need to stay strong. And if you really don't like what they're suggesting, tell them because it is your day.
Cool. So I think to kind of sum up having a more sustainable wedding is hire as much as you can, and then thrift what you can before buying new. Number one key rule, please don't have balloons. Balloons are plastic, they're very dangerous to animals, and also please don't have glitter and confetti. Confetti, I forgot to mention this before. Flowers, rose petals.
Rose petals.
You can use that instead of like the shit you buy from the supermarket,
and
or whatever it is.
It was I was looking at flower petals actually, because I was thinking about it for the table lays. There's lots of petals that you can just buy like as things that you can give to your guests. Like there's lots of options out there. Like I think I looked on like Etsy had some like dried petals you could have, or there was the Trade Me, the New Zealand kind of online, like there's lots of options. So just,
you can also use make confetti out of leaves, with like little hole punches, right?
That's a good point too.
So
lots of options. So just do your research, hire, thrift, and just try,
have the conversation with your vendors, and just rethink. Like, just take a little bit extra time to just be like, okay, how can I do this more sustainably? And also, obviously, if you have questions, ask us.
Yeah.
We're full of ideas.
Yeah, we're full of ideas.
There's probably something we definitely forgot.
What?
I said there probably is.
Oh, probably.
I don't know what that is, but there probably is.
Yeah, me neither. I should have done like a list of things, but that's okay.
I'm rusty because it was 4 years ago when I got married. You're still fresh.
Yeah, I'm still fresh. And have fun. And like, if you're on a budget and can't, like, say your caterer can't be super like it's not the end of the world. Like, have fun with it and just, yeah, do what you can do, but try be as sustainable as you can, basically.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I just had an idea.
Yeah, all right, go for it.
I told you there's something I forgot. Invitations.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So, and I guess you can also ask your guests to not bring you cards if you wanted to reduce waste in that way.
Yeah.
So I was like the only person that didn't give Nick a card.
Yeah.
I still haven't given you a card.
It's fine.
I was going to do a digital one and I haven't done it yet. So yeah, with invitations and also your cards is that you can actually do this digitally now.
Yes, you can.
So I'll link below a website that you can use this from. And also, again, I think Nick had information on a website about the wedding, so you could RSVP online.
Yeah.
You can find all the information about the wedding online. This way it just reduces paper usage and saves some trees.
Yeah, so like with ours we did have invitations, but that's because I really love
graphic designer.
I really love print stuff. So but even then I was very conscious about how much print I was doing. So that's why I had a website, so then I could have more information on certain stuff. So I only had to have, I think, like 2 sheets. Yeah. And I double-sided them, so I got as much of
as much as possible. And it also depends, I guess, on what you use. So you could use card that is, there are people that do like recycled papers and use vegetable ink dyes and stuff.
But yeah, digital, like, because that was one of my things that I really wanted. If it's not that important to you, do a digital thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Saves you money on postage.
Yeah, it really does.
Okay, I'm done.
All right. So where can people find you, Crystal?
Cool. You can always find me on Instagram, at Facebook at The Eco Society. Also check out our website, www.theecosociety.co.nz. And Nick, where can we find you and the podcast group?
Oh, so you can find me on Instagram at _Nick_Knack. Knick-knack. You can also find we have a Facebook group called Eco Us.
Yeah, so
we can talk about that next
We'll
episode.
talk about that next time, but we'll be changing our names, guys, but we'll talk about that in more details in our next podcast.
Yeah. And then you can also email us. Our email still kind of works at ecomeandecou@gmail.com. So if you have any questions or want our opinion on anything, or if you want any wedding advice, I'm more than happy to give it to you. Because like I've been through it and I definitely want to not impart my wisdom, but like I did all the research and stuff, so you guys may as well use it as well.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, everything is all linked below for you. Everything about that we've talked about today and where you can find us is all below.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, thanks guys.
Thanks. See you next time.
Bye.
Ciao.